Hello, and welcome to Ril's Guide to the new Dungeon Finder tool that is coming with the release of patch 3.3. The Dungeon Finder is the new Looking for Group tool. It allows players from across your battle group realms to join together to complete heroics and dungeons. This allows for a large pool of people to draw from, which means that you will spend less time waiting around for a group. To open the Dungeon Finder tool, click on the green eye on your menu bar. At the top, you can select which roles you are able to fulfill: tank, healer, DPS, and group leader. Just below the role selector is the drop-down menu with three options: Random Lich King Heroic, Random Lich King Dungeon, and Specific Dungeon. The Random Lich King Heroic, as its name suggests, will put you in a random heroic dungeon. Using the Dungeon Finder in this way will ignore your lockout ID for any heroic that you might already be saved to. However, it will try to queue you first for an instance you have not yet done. In addition, using the Random Heroic option will award you with 2 Emblems of Frost and 26 gold, but only once a day. You can still use the tool all day with as many heroics as you'd like, but you only get the reward once a day. This is meant to replace going to Dalaran to pick up the heroic daily quest that is no longer there. The Random Lich King dungeon is the same as the heroic, except you'll do a normal mode dungeon instead. Using this option will reward you with 2 Emblems of Triumph and 19 gold, but again, the rewards are just a once-a-day thing to replace the daily that is no longer there in Dalaran. The last option in the drop-down menu is the Specific Dungeon Finder. In this window, you'll find all of the Wrath of the Lich King dungeons and heroics listed in 2 collapsible lists. You can queue up for as many dungeons as you'd like. By clicking on the box next to the category title, you will select or deselect all the ones in that category, or you can select the dungeons specifically. You may notice that there is a lock on some of them. That means that for whatever reason you have not unlocked the instance yet, and so you cannot queue for it. When you've made all of your selections, simply press the Find Group button to join the queue. You are now in the queue and can feel free to close the Dungeon Finder window. You will notice that there is a green eye on your radar showing you that you are still in the queue. By hovering over it, you can see what role the Dungeon Finder is still looking for. The colored icons indicate that it's found that role, but the grayed out ones you are still looking for. When a group has assembled, you will get a pop-up on your screen. It will tell you what instance you found a group for, how many bosses they have downed, if any, and what role you will be playing. You can choose to leave the queue or to enter the dungeon. When you select the dungeon, you will see another pop-up window that will show you if everyone else chose to enter the dungeon too. If everyone else does choose to enter, you will be ported directly to the instance. If someone declines, you will automatically be put back in the Dungeon Finder queue. Once inside the instance, you will notice you've gained a couple of buffs and debuffs. First, on your radar, the green icon is still there, but if you click on it, you can choose to leave the instance. Doing so will put you right back where you were when you entered the instance. It does not remove you from the group. This allows you to leave the dungeon quickly to go repair or restock if necessary. When you're done, you can then use the green icon again to port back to the instance. You'll notice that there is also a flag on your radar indicating whether or not you are in a heroic instance. When you use the Dungeon Finder tool to join an instance, you gain a debuff called Dungeon Cooldown. This debuff will prevent you from queuing for another random dungeon for at least 15 minutes. You also gain a buff called Luck of the Draw. This increases your health by 5%, damage done by 5%, and healing done by 5% as a reward for using the Dungeon Finder tool. This buff remains for as long as you are in the instance. Sometimes you may find that someone in your group is being a jerk, a ninja, went AFK for 20 minutes, or just disconnected and hasn't returned yet. In this case, you can vote to kick the person from the group. Simply select the player, right-click, and choose Vote to Kick. If the majority of the group votes yes, then the player will be removed from the group and the instance immediately. The group leader can then open the Dungeon Finder tool, and they will be asked if they want to try and find another player for the group. Clicking yes and join as party will initiate a role check. Other group members will need to confirm what role they are playing so the Dungeon Finder knows what role to look for. Once everyone has finished the role check, the group will enter the queue to replace the missing person. But what if you don't want to pug? You want to do the daily and you want that awesome buff, but you want to do it with your guildies or people that you know. You can still use the Dungeon Finder tool. Simply gather your party and join the queue as a party. You will immediately receive a pop-up to join the dungeon and thus gain the buff and the daily rewards. Now what if you want to find a raid instead of just a group? You can use the Raid Browser tool. Unlike the Dungeon Finder tool, the Raid Browser does not have an automatic queue system and it does not draw from a cross-server pool. Instead, you place your name on a list to indicate that you are looking for a raid for that instance. Raid leaders can then choose to send you an invite. Open the Social window and click on your Raid tab. Click Open Raid Browser. Again, at the top you can select which roles you can fulfill. You can then select which raids you wish to be listed for. This Raid Browser includes all the raid instances currently in-game from Classic to Wrath of the Lich King. At the bottom of the Raid Browser is a Browse tab. Click on it to open the browser. You can then use the drop-down menu to select a raid that you are interested in and see who's listed as looking for that raid. Thank you for watching Ril's Guide to the Dungeon Finder tool. Please stop by the World of Warcraft Vault sometime and check out the other guides we have available. Happy pugging!